Hi, this is Gina, Inspiration Daily, November 6, 2021. So I'm still on my motorcycle inspiration. And today's inspiration is commitment. When I decided to sell my car in 2000 and whatever year it was, I don't remember now, 6 years ago now, started to sell my car and ride full time. I didn't really understand what that meant. It's a good thing. I couldn't see too far in the future. I was, again, as I said from the yesterday's inspiration, take that first step, one step, and then the next step, one foot in front of the other, fundamentally changes your life, the trajectory of your life, as it did for me. So I'm like, yeah, this works. I put 17,000 miles on something that's, goes maximum 35 miles an hour. So imagine what I can do with something that goes 85 miles an hour, and then now what I'm riding goes up to 120. Of course, I don't take it to 120. I will never do that. The fastest I've gone is I went to 90 for like a second, and then I'm like, okay, that's a little much. So 80, 85 if I got to pass somebody. But really, I consistently, when I'm out on the state roads, and I don't take this on the highway unless I have to, but that's the thing. I wanted something big enough, sturdy enough, get out of the way if I need to enough, if I need to get on the highway. So when I sold my car and went full-time to riding a motorbike, I didn't consider what that meant. So here's what it means. It's about commitment. Because I questioned that. I was like, that decision for probably the first year. I was like, I don't know if this is for me. Why? Because we've had it can get cold in Florida. A lot of people don't, well, I didn't know that. I don't know why I didn't know that, but I didn't. And there was one winter, it was before I went full-time on the bike, but there was one winter, it was the coldest winter of record on the Gulf Coast, well, actually in the whole state of Florida, in 40 years, and that was in 2010. It was 2 years after I got here, and I was like, the temperature plummeted. We have what we call cold spells here. We get a cold front or a cold spell, and it lasts 3-4 days, and then it goes back to normal winter weather for us, which is, let's say, at the height of the heat of the day, it's going to be 70s, 80s, low 80s, high 70s. Then at night, it can go down to 40s, 50s. But then in the morning, it goes back up again, as the sun comes up. Well, in 2010, it was the coldest winter of record in 40 years. And of course, it was my second year here, and I thought, what happened to the year-round warmth and sunshine? The temperature plummeted. It was consistent. I don't think it went over 40. You can look at this up. I don't think it went over, I'll look it up and put it in the transcript. I don't think it went over 40 degrees Fahrenheit for like 4 months, and that's highly, highly unusual. People were like, you would go to Goodwill or whatever, you couldn't find a coat, a glove, a boot, nothing, because, people are used to running around in shorts and flip-flops. So the first thing was, when I went full-time on the bike, I was like, holy moly. I didn't have the gear. You saw me with some of my gear on the previous video. I didn't have any of that. So I was wearing, fortunately, because of the coldest winter of record. Well, first of all, I had kept a lot of the jackets and coats I brought down with me from New England, and I had ski jackets and things like that. And I was like, okay, but it's not motorcycle wear, and it's not. So I would, I'd be piling on, wearing like 5, 6, 7 layers of clothes. I gloves, motorcycle gloves. That's a whole different from regular gloves. I mean, keeping my neck warm. I mean, so it was cold. It was rain. This is a tropical climate. We have rainy season, and it runs from July to October. And when I say rain, I'm talking about biblical rain. I'm talking about locusts and frogs. Okay, it comes down in sheets. No joke. Okay, now the good news is here, unlike in where I grew up in the Northeast and where I lived in the Northeast for many years, it doesn't rain forever and ever. I mean, you can pretty much set your watch to it a certain time of day, usually in the afternoon, let's say from 3 to 5, it rains and then it's over. But that's not always the case. And I would be caught in like the equivalent of a flash monsoon. And I thought, I don't know if this is for me. And then it was like, well, what's going on with the hair? Because if you want to use this as a form of transportation, it's fine to have a kerchief on now if I'm just going to ride, a few hundred miles, for fun. But if I'm using this as a transport and I'm going to a party or I'm going dancing, what's the whole hair thing? What's the makeup thing? And I really had to learn. That's not it. No, I had to commit. I had to commit to a way of life. And that's what riding a bike full time is. It's not a form of transportation. People don't get that when they say to me, you don't have a car, you don't have any other vehicle. No, I don't. Because it's not about just getting around from point A to point B. When you ride full time, it's a commitment to a lifestyle. I love riding this bike. And so the first couple of years when I was freezing, when I was wet, I was riding in lightning storms, I was trying to figure out what's the hair thing. I realized it's probably a good idea to have a change of clothes with me, change of shoes. I had to understand, okay, what is the gear all about? I didn't want to pay hundreds of dollars for it, so I had to figure that out. Just to stay warm, to stay dry. So there was a lot to learn, and so I said, well, if you're gonna do this thing, so that was my first couple of years. It was like, is this for real? Are you really going to go here? Is this going to be, or is this just until, I don't know. I mean, I literally didn't know. I was one foot in front of the other. So it was and it is a commitment. And by the time, when I got to year 3, which was 2019, when I bought the bike I have now, which is the biggest bike I've had, a 650, I said, okay, this is it. I'm in. I'm fully committed. And I didn't. So commitment. I'm inspired by how this decision to ride full time created in me an energy of commitment. It created in me. There was a shift that occurred that it's not sometime, just when the weather is good, nice, or when it's warmer. It's all the time. I'm in. It's a full commitment. It's not a fair weather. Literally, it's not a fair weather experience. And so that a shift occurred in my brain about how I relate to this bike and what I need to. I go shopping for groceries. Fortunately, it has a trunk, and it actually has it looks tiny, but it's a very spacious trunk. And there were times that, you just throw stuff in your car, and I used to have just crap in my trunk and crap all in the car. I can't do that. I literally don't have the space for that. So that commitment has catalyzed a very intentional relationship to my bike and the lifestyle that I've committed to, because it's not just transportation. I mean, I can jump in an Uber, or I can ride a bicycle or skateboard to get from point A to point B. I can walk. I do a lot of walking. But that's not what this is. This is a commitment to a lifestyle. I guess it's kind of like a marriage. You could say, well, I like this person does it for me, but I'm only in when it's good, when the weather's great, well, that's not really a commitment. That's a fair weather thing. Are you in? Are you in for the good times, the bad, the good, the bad, and the ugly? And the answer is, when it comes to my Suzuki 650, I am fully all in committed. Thanks for joining me.